Hello.
Hi, Sophia.
How's it going?
It's going fine. I see you're in Florida to avoid the snowstorm.
Yep.
I don't
uh,
blame you. It sounds like it's going to be a doozy.
oh yeah. I love the snow, but we'll be admiring it from afar here in Florida.
No skiing for you.
Yeah, which is a little bit unfortunate. Although there's not much skiing that you can do in New Jersey.
Do they even have a ski slope?
They do. I think there's a few, like there's a place or two that you can go kind of on the, mm, I want to say Pennsylvania, New Jersey
Yeah,
border.
yeah. The Poconos or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Poconos is a little further into upstate New York, but
Okay.
there's like this right up by the Delaware River Gap
Hmm.
area. There should be a
Yeah,
place to do. I
yeah.
vaguely remember going with my Girl Scout troop.
Okay. Good. We've got all kinds of climate in this uh, in this call. We got Dave up in the mountains in Columbia, and you're in Florida. I say nobody's in the snow. I guess we don't have any snow, folks, or do we? Maybe we do. Russ is in Hawaii. My gosh,
We're smarter than being in snow.
Leon's probably got snow. Yeah. No.
A bit, but nothing to stay on the ground.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to see. Looks like we've got a good gathering here. It was a heck of a meeting yesterday on automation. That was. It sounded like it's really starting to come together. Didn't you think, Dave? I mean,
Yeah, I do. I think, well, tonight they have the telescope, or tomorrow morning,
yeah.
at 4 a.m. precisely.
What
Well,
what time is that, Dave?
Well, the telescope is GMT -3, and Leon and Nick are what, GMT +1 or something like that. So therefore, so that would be 8 a.m. I think, Leon's time.
so why
How
do we
many
need
time
automation?
zones?
Why do we need automation? We've got operators who can work all the time during the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have.
Uh,
How
So,
many time zones are represented here?
boy,
Including the Chile telescopes, we
yeah,
have 1, 2, 4, 5. Very international group.
yeah, yeah. And we have a new person join us here, Alan Priest. He's I think many of you may have met Alan before, but if not, Alan, you're welcome. If you're welcome to say anything. You're actually in the middle of work, not like the rest of us people. Well, Calais is.
Yeah, I am working right now, so but I wanted to listen in and see what you guys are doing and what I can learn.
Hello, Alan.
Hey,
Hi, Alan. I remember you. You were back with Pat years ago.
yep, absolutely.
Yep, and he did some speckle back then too, right?
Yeah, I was there that weekend out at TDS.
Yeah,
We were trying to do speckle out there.
Yeah,
yeah,
on the 24-inch.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That that was fun. Well, it's
Rick was
come.
there. Dave, you were there too, right?
He
I
was
was there. Yeah, I slept in the back of my truck. It was fun.
Yeah, you had a nice little cover to go over the back of your truck so you could sleep in there. So
I've improved it since then. Yeah, it's really, it's great.
cool.
I have a beautiful silver colored tarp that I throw over it now, and you can't miss me. Matches the shade of my truck.
Yeah, nice. Well, I don't know where we're particularly headed today. I don't know. Has anybody got a topic for the day? Dave usually, or
I have plenty of things to talk about, but anybody else have things to talk about?
I've got a short topic, and that is the astronomy research experience. So we've had some emails with Clay and Rachel and others pitching in kind of, can you just really throw new students in the deep end of the pool without, giving a little coursework in advance. And the answer appears so far, and I'll see if Sophie agrees with this, yes and no. I think of our new students, a couple of them are swimming okay and doing research, and one of them wonders what the hell is going on. Any rate, and I think our yeah,
little
just
bit. It's at least from the pilot program, it seemed to be okay. There's a lot of offline chat with the students, and I met with a few of them I think I met with everyone one on one at least once during it, just to answer any and all questions that came up. There's definitely some papers that needed to get sent over, and some like preliminary readings and things that needed to get sent to students for them to kind of read through. But I think outside of that media and some questions that they had, it ended up being pretty okay. And we had students who had various levels experiences, from Rohan, who hadn't really done any research or something like that before, to Alex, who seemed to who had done Rachel's class before, I believe. Like, there was different people who were at different levels, but I think they were all able to get it fairly okay.
Are we talking about throwing them into a speckle project, or is this the beginning, the first double
Speckle
start?
project.
Oh, speckle project. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, using your telescope and the 24-inch at Chile to gather data. The other thing is, so we're going to start another class shortly, and I think it's a question of timing when we want to start the next astronomy research experience with more students. I wanted to learn from this pilot one, but the other thing is I want to see if we can kind of get a stable and kind of unified observing situation with Barrow and the 24-inch, and maybe, not too far off the 1 meter. And so it looks like we're getting close to automation, and that would be handy. And if we don't get complete automation, it's going to be at least semi-automated, and maybe can do the same NINA special thing at both Barrow and Chile, so the students wouldn't have to learn two new things.
There is
Very good at Barrow.
Barrow is a problem. We have to replace the focuser, and that's going to happen in about a month. I don't know how that plays into your schedule. Presumably it's going to
start
work.
time for
What's that?
the
What's
current planned start date is the February 22nd, I believe.
Okay. Well, I'm told that I'll get the new focuser by the end of the month, end of February. It's going to get rid of the FLI and do the Optec. And because I'm doing that, I'm not going to chase down and try to get NINA set up on there, because I'm limited with this 32-bit driver for the current focuser. So I'm just going to wait installing NINA out there until I get the new focuser in. I think, I wouldn't want to bank on it, but I think by early March to mid-March, I think we'll be in a position that you could use it like we did this last time, is to have a dedicated night or two to go ahead and use it. I think it's great that you have two systems, because weather and mechanicals and everything else, you got to anticipate that something's going to happen from time to time to get in the way. So that's Russ. That's my that's my concern about Barrow.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And I think timing will fit in. We can slip it a bit, even till start it up the 1st of March. And of course, we can have part of the early part of it doesn't have to be observation. But I think the key thing is we want to slip the students into the ongoing research. And so, our current students are doing, Nathan's done a really good job on Barrow. And so they've been following along with Nathan, and Nathan has got observations. And then we've also made some observations on the 24-inch. And they're understanding pilot students. So, the confusion doesn't bother them. But I'm hoping with our larger group of more naive students that will maybe in, like early March, have a kind of settled down environment for them.
So that's such a goal. I certainly don't want the thing to be down for, Barrow to be down for long. We think we can swap out things in the weekend, over a weekend, and get it back to where it should be, but that's you're never sure of that when you start disassembling something like this and what happens. But at least the 24 is available if this doesn't come together quickly.
Well, it's a bit risky to have only one telescope, but for the research experience, but that's up to you guys. Remember, we don't get it during the new moon, and we get it half time for the 3 weeks. That's not around the new moon. So it should be plenty, right?
Oh, yeah, more than enough.
Especially with automation, should be
Yeah,
plenty.
we
Yeah, with automation, it should be wonderful.
Yeah, once we get automation, then the papers can have really long lists of stars that they observed.
Right.
Yeah, so I would like to have maybe Leon give us a synopsis of the state of automation. Why don't you do that first, Leon?
I will, but Kalei wanted to say something. She just raised her
Oh,
hand.
she did. I didn't see that.
No worries, and thank you. And this will be quick, and I'm sorry for the barking puppy in the background, but I have two things. The first is for, so Stanford has given the tentative go-ahead for balloon in June, depending on COVID and stuff, and they're cagey about being committed, but I'm wondering if we can spend some time during the engineering run weekend in March putting a muon detector together.
Of course.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
that would be amazing. And then, so is it the case, Russ, that you're going to cancel the subsequent 3 days, or are you moving them to a different date? I wasn't completely clear on your emails, but depending what you do, since SAS is moved to a time we can't be there, I might see if Tom would be okay to move Mount Wilson to the Friday and then come to CubeSats on Saturday, depending what he says or what goes down at the engineering run or what have you. So just what's the plan for Mount Wilson for your research experience? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so moving it to Friday would work, and then we could. So two possibilities that I mentioned in that email for the astronomy research experience: 3 nights of, hardcore Rick and Dave and Scott and a few students, going all night on the 60-inch, knocking out as many as they could of really close systems. So they could do that between SAS and the AAS, the workshop and the AAS meeting that week. So they could do it like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and then you would do Friday night. And or it could even be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, and you could do Thursday night if you wanted. That might be easier with Tom. We can either do that, or if we do it maybe shortly after the engineering run in like late March, the nights will be longer, so we'll get more done. So hadn't decided yet, and it was really kind of what do people want to do,
Well,
like Rick and Dave and so forth.
I want Dave and Rick fresh.
That's now impossible. So
Yeah.
we're in various states of,
That's not going to work.
bugging, I
It's
guess.
just a nights of hardcore science. So
Well, I think that's a good point. That 3 nights of hard at it is going to wear everyone out, and ought to be separate from everything else. So let's move it, get the engineering run as soon as we can and make sure everything's working. Then we'll follow that fairly shortly with a 3-night, full forest research forest run. And I did suggest that maybe Tom Meneghini will let us have kind of 2 weekends in a row, and we pick, if the weather on the first weekend is bad, we'll switch to the second weekend. Not weekend, I mean during the week. They tend not to have much during the week.
That sounds awesome. I'm only going to be there the weekend, but I'm just hoping for good weather that weekend. So if we could, and I actually have a student who's handier than I am with a soldering iron that would be interested in nuaning. I'm so hopeless with tools. I'm trying to make a model of a pulsar right now, and I was trying to get some wires, and I was like, which ones are wire? Are these wire cutters?
Well, they look like wire cutters, but
I don't even know. I'm hopeless with equipment and tools and all the stuff that you guys are amazing at. So I'm really excited about the possibility of Nuon but detection building with people who know how to do it.
yeah, I forgot to look in my drawer, but now that I recall, I even bought a thorium source, and so we should be able to even test it.
Oh my
What
gosh,
is it?
that would be so cool. We could test it driving up the mountain to Mount Wilson potentially, because it should register stuff. I mean, I've had one of these
That's
things.
right, but we have to assemble it first. So
Right. I mean, there's that, little details like that, but
leaving out the small details, and I need to find a case for it. So that's another, thing to do.
yeah. And let me know if there's anything that needs to be purchased, because I can make that happen. Stanford's in support of this project at this point.
Okay, I have to actually pull out the box of stuff and see where I was at with the parts list.
Awesome. Okay, well, I will stop hijacking and turn it over to Leon now. Thank you very much.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah,
can I say a word or two about what I've been doing?
sure.
Okay. So I missed the automation meeting yesterday, unfortunately, but Sophia sent me the videos. And I got to watch, before this one started, I got to watch the first 10 minutes or so of yesterday's meeting. And sounds like it, just from 10 minutes, what Nick showed was great progress. And I guess when I watch the rest, I'll see where it really is. But can I ask, is it available to test or to play with yet? Or
We're gonna ask Leon that, and
okay, next
you know,
topic. Yeah.
I'm leaving it up to Leon and Nick to make it work on the 24 first,
Uh-huh.
of course.
Yeah. So
Actually, the
so
only
anyway,
scope we have now.
yeah. The other thing I've done is to download the beta version, which has the advanced scheduler in it, and I played with the advanced scheduler last night. It is quite impressive. It is a very slick way to control a telescope
Mhm.
system, and I really enjoyed figuring out the architecture of it, and how to play with it. I didn't get it all to work, but it was that there's some things that have to be tuned up and
Yeah.
things.
It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with that, and so far with my 8-inch in the backyard, I've done about 7 different speckle targets. I guess I did all of them once with using Nina and the subframing that was in Nina before, which was only available in the release version of it, I guess. And I've also done it with SharpCap. So I've kind of figured out how to do that in the backyard with that 8-inch scope. And so if need be, I suppose, and well, it isn't the way it works. It doesn't point very well, so I have to use a second aperture to do the plate solving and refined a line of sight. So it's not a pretty sight the way it is. But if what Nick is doing with the clusters and the plate solving works well, then I should be able to install that and use it. And it should work pretty much like the 24-inch or like Barrow.
It should
So it-
actually work exactly the same if you have
Yeah.
the appropriate hardware. Yeah,
Right. I believe it will. So
yeah.
that's a possibility in the future here, but not quite yet. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. Once the plugin works on the 24, it's going to work just as well for you or for Barrow. The one note is you definitely will need 32-bit drivers, 64-bit drivers. There was a lot of talk on 32-bit drivers and use of them in the Nina Discord, and they just can't do the backward compatibility. There is an outdated 32-bit version of Nina, but that doesn't really make sense. And also, Scott, when you run the new plugin, the new version of the plugin, you're going to need the nightly version. So that's beta and then beta 38.
Beta what?
Beta
Somebody's got
of-
popcorn or something.
Beta 38. So right now you
Beta.
should be on beta 2, and you need
Yeah,
to
beta
turn
2.
on. Yeah, and now you need to turn on nightly downloads. So whatever new is pushed to the repository.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I have a problem with the 32-bit drivers except for one camera that I won't be using. Pat does. Pat has a different situation. He's, I don't know what you're going to do about it, Pat.
Yeah.
I was saying at the beginning, I'm changing the focuser and then that gets rid of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there was talk about a 32-bit focuser as well. Might be something very similar, that they weren't able to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today Nick continued working on the reference stars. So after each observation of a target star, you automatically want to give the highest priority to a reference star. And that's something we need for the test tomorrow. He has just 10 minutes before this meeting, he sent me the finished plugin DLL file for testing. So I'm going to move that on tonight so we can use it in the morning. The state of automation currently, it's semi-automated. So it will go to the target, and it will commence the speckle observation. But what doesn't work yet is scheduling the targets. So you can't click play and it will go through the target list. You have to slew to each individual target. Nick mentioned that as well yesterday in the meeting. And this at the current point, this forces you to stay up through the night, because the most difficult thing with the plugin is not actually creating the window. So where you have the target list and the names, it's adding it into the sequencer, because compatibility there for new sequence items is more difficult. But there's progress on that too. So like an ETA on when it's usable for an entire night is, let's say, 2 weeks, I'd say. Roughly. Don't quote me on that. And one big improvement would for the 1 meter as well be the PlaneWave plugin. Dave, I saw you also wrote an email about that, because for the 24-inch and the 1 meter interfacing better with the PlaneWave mounts, that'll be an advantage, notably not going directly over the Zenith. We talked about that yesterday as well towards the very end. But for Scott's system or for my system, that shouldn't be a problem. Dave, you are muted.
Yeah, that's clearly making a huge amount of progress there. So, when I was engineering manager, I used to multiply any engineering estimate by pi, and I turned out to be very close to the actual answer. So 2 weeks isn't so bad. It'll be probably early April when it actually.
Yeah, like 2 weeks,
I'm-
you get your first version, and early April, then you get something which runs.
We actually can, right, stay up. You don't have to stay up all night. Well, we'll see. So that's my prediction. Great. Automation is going to turn this into a real, then we of course have the problem of how to reduce the data and make measurements and publish papers and so forth. But you got to solve the first problem first, which is getting the information.
I
one
liken this to finding a vaccine is the automation, and then figuring out how to handle the logistics of all the data is the distribution of the vaccine.
Right. Then it's a small problem getting it to 7 billion people. Right. Okay, so my idea there is to run automatically run Speckle Toolbox, and I've been making some progress. Pat, let me share the screen, please.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I don't actually have the, I've got the tough stuff done, and now I only have to add some routines to actually do the reduction. So I'll show you. Well, first of all, I need to bring it up. Okay. Give me 1 second. I think this is the right way to do it. Now, can you see Visual Basic there in the foreground?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So in fact, I can show you how you write code for this. This is kind of the old style way of writing code, but this is Visual Basic, and it's nearly identical now to C#. C# has a few things about it that I don't like. It compiles to the same code as C#. So that's how, this is where I'm at with this little window or class, depending on. So what we'll do is we will be able to pick a folder that contains all of the images that have been taken for that night. So there'll be a top level folder that contains those images, and we will select it here. And then once you've selected the size of the image you want to process, then just hit process. And it'll run. It's not actually doing any computation right now. It's a little too fast for that, but you get the idea. It will run through and process every image in every directory underneath the top level directory that you've selected. So it'll be really easy to process into bispectrum files, and then people can come on the computer and retrieve the ones that they want, or they can be distributed by the operator, the observer that night. So that's the way we'll handle that. It'll speed things up dramatically, I think. And you'll have bispectrum files for the target and for the reference that you'll then load in the usual manner that you're familiar with, and then you can make the measurement.
So Dave, will these be cubes, and what's the rough ratio of what that is compared with what you take?
Yeah, so they're not cubes. They're actually the BSP1 files, the bispectrum files themselves, and a cube that might have been, okay, so if they're 256 by 256, I think the bispectrum files will be around 30 megabytes each, instead of, could be half a gigabyte. So the compression ratio will be 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 or 30 to 1, something like that.
Yeah.
Is the reference associated with the target?
Okay, so the file, right now I'm going to put all of the files, all the bispectrum files in the top directory, just for convenience at this moment. I could try to organize them under username, but the username would then have to come first, and Nick and I need to agree precisely on those details. So, and it may be better this way. I think what each individual should do is to go into the computer underneath that top level directory, which will be a date and time, find the files that they want and transfer them, or just use STB on the host machine at that time and take the measurements. Do your measurements, make a FITS file, image file out of the final reduction that you see on the screen, or whatever you want to do. So, or if that turns out to be cumbersome, then we'll figure out some other way to handle the data distribution problem. Okay, so that's where we're headed there. So you can expect that once we have automation, we will have all of those files underneath that top level directory for that evening. And in the morning, it'll take some number of hours to process the data locally, or maybe less than an hour, and you'll have it. And that's a lot better than the way we're doing it now.
I have one more thing on the opposite end, on the input files for target and reference stars. We still have to create some there. The problem is that at this point, the format isn't clear yet, but this should probably be automated as well, because this would be a massive number of targets. Because what we need is most likely having a target and then a reference directly, if you know Rust's format, which we've been using for Red Dwarf. So you don't have a list of target, but target and then the exact same information for the reference star. And if we're going to have full automation in a matter of time, then one target, reference included, will be around, I think it was like 3 to 8 minutes. So throughout an entire night, we already need a few hundred lines for a few hundred targets. So before we can really use the automation, we also need an automated way to create these sheets.
At least for finding the targets, is there a way to maybe have WDS into like the GDS tool integrate with Nina?
How do you mean finding them?
Like, is there a way that we can use, because on GDS we can already find targets. So is there a way to use like the search function that we're currently using for GDS and then have that connect to the Nina find target for setting up the sequencing?
Does GDS, I don't remember, does GDS find for you the nearest SAO star?
We don't have reference
Negative.
stars from
In GDS, no, but
just
we do in
targets.
WDS, and I can add that tool to GDS. Let me share my, sorry, Sophia, but let me share my screen again to just show people what I'm talking about.
What I recall yesterday, Nick was finding a reference, wasn't he? Wasn't he going to Simbad? and looking within a certain radius for an SAO star? Or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, he thought of doing that. It wasn't planned until that point. That was an idea.
Okay.
But it's if WDS generates reference stars, you can either have them directly in the list or you can have Nina go find one.
Or I can write a separate tool that finds the best and nearest reference star. The tool would look a bit like this. So suppose you want to take that star as your target, and then you can find a reference star by clicking that box and open this up. And there's all of the SAO stars that are near it, and the list goes
Okay.
kind of on and on. I don't
Wow.
know if you guys knew this or not.
No, that's,
So suppose I'm interested in a ninth magnitude. This is only a half a degree away. I might select that one, and you can add that to a run list that is being generated. And this gets output as a CSV file when you want. So you can save it as a CSV
Is that list,
or a text file, I guess, in this case. Huh?
is that list exclusive of, has no doubles in it? Are doubles
Yeah, well,
excluded?
there's a duplicate variable flag that I put here. So I wouldn't use anything with the duplicate flag. That would be probably a bad idea. But there's
Okay.
very few duplicate SAO stars, meaning double, right?
Yeah, meaning double, got it.
I put in chat, I can get reference stars from AAVSO that are recommended as non-variable comparison stars for, if that would be helpful. I'm guessing it would be easy to match them up to SAO if you need the SAO numbers. But we went through this with a recent paper because they, for anything for JAAVSO anyway, they really want you to name the stars according to the IDs that are in their database. So as part of doing that, I now know all about getting their recommended comp stars and how to name them.
Well,
If that would be,
Kelly, in our case, we don't need non-variable. We just need non-double. So I
That
think
makes
Non-wildly varying double variables. I mean, if
Well-
it varies by several magnitudes, it might be a problem, but
well, but it's over only a short time, right? I guess so it doesn't
yeah, it's
matter.
not important. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that facility already exists. Maybe I have to tune it up a little bit for this application, but all of the code, is there. And it would be great if I could get that into Nina, but I have no idea how you interface to Nina. So
Well, the nicest thing would be to enter a min and max coordinate range, and then click generate targets and reference stars, and then it spits out a list with target and reference right below it. And then you can just
Okay.
load that into Nina. That's easy.
we could do that too. Yeah. And I could do that within GDS, I guess. Okay, we'll think about that. So other news, anybody else have anything they'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Russ on his email on the QHY 990 cameras, because I know they exist, but I don't, well, I've never looked into what advantage going into higher infrared ranges would bring for speckle.
Yeah, well, basically, it's all Rick's fault that we've got going on these red dwarf. I want to keep blaming him, but they're, the later ones peak way out. And so you have two advantages of going to longer wavelength bands. One is that the stars are brighter, but the stars that you don't want to observe, the earlier stars are dimmer. So you can kind of get a double advantage sometimes. And well, Dave, you could mention, that the longer wavelengths can be better for speckle, right?
they're much better for, yeah, atmospheric seeing distortion. You have lower distortion. However, the read noise, the equivalent of the read noise, which is the, dark current, is quite a lot worse with these cameras. So even though they're improving, the SNR is going to be quite a bit worse than you'd see in a CMOS V-band camera. Nonetheless, it's looks like a great technological development for us. These cameras are really a beautiful work of technological art. Russ, do you know what they cost yet?
I think they're somewhere around 4,000, 8,000. QHY on their website that describes these, you said to, email them for a quote, which I have done and haven't heard from them yet. And unlike the chips and the cell phones and so forth, the chip price may not drop as dramatically because, these are small format specialized. And so it's hard to say, but I, compared to the cost of cameras in the past and their size and weight, this seems to be a breakthrough of sorts.
Hey, Russ, what is QSI's market? Who are they trying to sell these to? Just guys like us? That's not a very big market.
I think there's some of the industrial control things, and I think there's a space security sort of thing. I think maybe in fact the chips used in the kind of the next best camera is the what they call it, the CRAD-2. That's the one Gerard and company is using up at Lowell on their new advanced speckle system that goes out to J&H bands. Anyway, that chip and that camera was developed by the Israelis for air-to-air missiles. And so they're heat seeking, so they lock in, they don't need a wide field of view, and they just need to track somebody else's engine heat.
Yeah. Thermal IR.
Yeah, thermal IR. Yeah, Scott, that used to be your area, right?
Yeah, we did a lot. Well, we worked across the spectrum, but a lot in IR, yeah.
Okay, well, regarding telescopes, the 1 meter looks like Matt, he's not exactly sure what days he's going down there, but he's going to go down in mid-February, and he's taking the speckle instrument for the port 2 of the 1 meter, and we'll get some time on it. It'll be great. And we'll have some shakeout difficulties, I'm sure, but we'll get that to work, and we'll have a 1 meter telescope with all the Sloan filters. So Rick and Russell have to start thinking about how they want to use that. It'll have V-band through, I think we got the ProPlanet 807 on there too. So you'll have the whole, basically Z-band, right? You'll have the whole, or is it Y-band?
Hey, that's great. We can do red dwarf, white dwarfs, Dave.
We can do red dwarf, white dwarfs, right? So that'll be fun. So there's some photometry stuff that I'm sure Rick and Russ will work on. By the way, don't forget to send me your bio and your project descriptions. Scott sent me a lovely one. That's perfect. But so if you want to be an operator, you've got to send that to me. And I'll send it to Matt and he'll get it up on a website. And also, I want to remind you again, when you use the telescope, make sure you send me a note to just briefly describing who was involved and what you got done, or if you had any problems.
Dave, did you see the sheet for that?
I didn't, sorry.
Oh,
Did
I created a scheduler for the CDK24 where that information is already in there.
Why
I
don't
can-
you bring it up for us
Yep.
and share your screen?
Minute.
I'm a bit of I'm getting to be a technological or a internet dinosaur, I think.
Hey, it's just a nice looking spreadsheet. I wasn't entirely sure what level of detail you wanted on the notes. And I just filled out the latest entries in here in post.
Kind of like a logbook on a ship. You want to know, where you went that evening, or if you ran into a reef or something.
Yep. Screen one, share there. Should be able to see it.
Ah, my goodness.
There we go. So that's for the last week. You have whoever used it. So Sophia was continuously using it in her nighttime, and I used it when I woke up. Then you have a plan for the telescope, which you write before you use it. This is just mostly copy pasted because I made this on Saturday or Sunday. So I just had to fill in what's missing. Then notes, we had that autofocus problem. And a summary of the night. I linked to the exoplanet results here, the speckle observations. We can also add more detail on that and just succeeded. Here we had an issue, which where the technicians had to power that back on. And here the weather was too unstable to get a stable exoplanet light curve. And then at the bottom here, the most recent week will always be in the first position. And I've already filled out the next weeks. So we have 2 days here in February where we have to create a plan. And then in mid-February, after mid-February, we have more. I've already for a plan here. This would be the best night for Calais exoplanet observation because it starts at around 1 a.m. local.
Beautiful. What a nice job.
This is the one that might be good to speckle. So we could maybe talk more about that as it gets closer. We mentioned perhaps trying to speckle the transit. There are a bunch of reasons why that might not work, but we have observations from elsewhere that are just like normal exoplanet observations of this target. So I would really like to try it to just see if it's possible. Do you want the students who want to do it to be trained as operators?
I don't think so. The operator group, I want to keep small and just among ourselves, basically. But I would like, so we have to have a volunteer operator, and the choices are at the moment are Leon or Sophia. And that timing is what? That's local time, huh?
Yep, that's local time.
Yeah,
So-
that would be inconvenient for everybody. I can. So Calais, you better get trained up as an operator, huh?
Yeah, if I have told myself very firmly that I am not going to do that until summer because I just am so overcommitted that it's just not a good idea for me.
Well, luckily Leon can program Nina to take the observation.
That would be amazing. I think the student who identified that exoplanet target, Ella, could potentially be trained. Though I don't know. I don't know about their interests. I don't know if they're interested.
Do they have a long-term interest?
Yeah. Perhaps I don't know. I don't have a good feel for that.
And invite them to a Friday meeting, and we can They have, if they want to join the group on an occasional basis, at least, then we can train them up as an observer, as an operator, actually.
Okay, I shall make the inquiries. It's hard to tell sometimes because sometimes the enthusiasm expressed doesn't match the follow through.
Mhm.
But we can see.
Depending on what time that is, East Coast time, because I cannot remember how to do time conversions right now for the life of me. I'm also more than happy to just sit in and observe it because Ella's in the same class, so I'm more than happy to help.
Terrific.
That's it.
There you
What time is that for all? This is middle of the night for all of us, is it?
So it's at what time? Chile time?
So it's midnight to 4 a.m.
In Chile.
in
There,
Chile.
I've put the time converter in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe we can talk Nathan, Scott, and Rick into becoming observers. I definitely want to become observers. Came yesterday in the mail. This is the cable I need to connect up my camera and filter wheel to computer so I can start playing with Nina on the system here.
I'm planning to learn how to be an operator, but I was a bit overwhelmed my first experience with the 24. So I'm trying to do a little on the side to get more familiar with Nina and SharpCap first.
Yeah, and you also have to learn PWI 4
Yeah.
and PWI 3 and what else? Other stuff.
Also,
I've had
I
a little
just-
exposure to that with Barrow, but not very much. I'm sure not comfortable with it. So it'll be a while.
What's the, Leon, when you say there'll be something running in 2 weeks, is that going to be running with SharpCap or is that going to be running with the Nina capture control?
Probably Nina capture control.
Oh, excellent. Okay. All right. Good.
Well, hopefully, really.
Also, looking at those time conversions, it's not too bad. East Coast time, I should be fine to observe then.
Yeah, I would offer to just stay up all night for that, but and I know there's an exam a few days later, so can't do that one.
But once you get
So-
the observation going, you can probably take a nap or two, I would think. I mean, what is it, 4 hours? That's
Does
probably
that,
worth a nap in there.
does that include any out of eclipse time for sort of a
Yeah.
baseline?
I think the 4 hours was included an hour on either side, didn't it?
Yeah, this one's like super quick transit. It's like an hour, less than an hour of a transit. So we would only need a total of 3 hours, I think,
Oh, okay.
observing.
If you don't know the story of observing the transit of Venus, what was it, Russ 17 something or other, I highly recommend you pick up a book or take a look on the internet. It's fascinating story where people went to do the transit of Venus. Okay, enough of that. So I also recommend that you might try an exoplanet first before you do your, golden, one, because the whole thing of setting things up and getting it to work and, when you've done it once, it's a much more pleasant experience in the middle of the night to do the second one.
Alrighty. Leon, if there's a night, you can walk me through how to set a exoplanet up on Nina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that too.
Yeah,
I
it
would
just
too.
depends on
I'd
when
be
we-
very interested in watching that. I'm interested in Nick's plugin that what it does as well on that. That'd be great.
I think if we do that, it will be some combination of Nick's plugin and how you'd regularly observe an exoplanet. Because we will need to, if we want to speckle the planet, then we can just use the regular exoplanet
yeah.
sequencer and then add
Okay.
in Nick's speckle.
Okay.
but it really depends on when we have time and if it's cloudy on the 9th, which would be our next night.
How much data is going to be jumped into that computer while it's speckling for 3 hours?
Wait 1 moment.
Ooh, that's a scary thought. You have that terabyte drive, Dave?
I do, but what's the size of the drive? That Leon's probably looking it up right now. The size of the drive that we have available in Chile.
No, it's already in the chat. It's 5 terabytes or 4.
Oh,
Yeah, so that shouldn't be a problem.
okay.
It's what you do with it after that. You know,
Yeah.
that's 5 terabytes that's sitting in Chile, and you have to figure out what to do with it from there.
One of the things I really strongly recommend is every night, in the morning after the observations have been made, and Dave, your program has been applied to it, that the results be sent out automatically to all the users. And that way you don't have a whole bunch of users, including students, messing around, trying to retrieve their files and wiping out other people's files in the process and all that. So, with Fairborn Observatory, we set that up as soon as we got kind of remote access to it. So where observations be made, and then the user didn't have to come in at all. They got it in their email box every morning.
Well, you'll be able to go get it in Dropbox. And
Yep.
Leon's already set up a Dropbox with Matt. And so you just got to figure out how to use Dropbox. It's very easy. It's kind of
Oh, okay.
automatic.
Mhm.
So
it'll be
for
sitting
3
there-
hours.
Sorry,
Oh,
Leon,
sorry,
go ahead.
For 3 hours, it would be between like 10 to 15 gigabytes,
Not bad.
depending on
That's
the
not-
exposure time,
Yeah.
the average.
That's not bad. Not bad at all.
Is
So
that
I
256
remember-
by 256, Leon?
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't think we really want to go larger than that, based on what Dave said earlier.
Right.
So, this is really great. We're solving a whole bunch of problems that have plagued astronomy for a long time. And to see it come together is really wonderful. But the next step is, like I said before, you got to figure out what you're going to do with the data. So if you need programs put onto that computer, the nuke, then ask Leon or Sophie to do it for you, or learn how to do it, through AnyDesk or whatever you like. So I highly recommend local processing. That's why I'm doing the SDB stuff like that. And so again, to answer your question, Russ, after the data has been reduced to bispectrum files, you'll have it in Dropbox. If
I
you,
I
go ahead.
recommend that, because otherwise you can't have multiple people trying to access the telescope computer. It's got to get out of there because it's not a server. You can only have one person at a time, correct? So, yeah. you need to-
it'll all be sitting there in Dropbox, and
Yeah.
Dropbox is a multi-user
Right.
system that we can all.
Yeah.
So we get it shared to your computer, and then you have it. It'll be sitting there as if it were a file, a drive. It'll be sitting there as if it looks like a kind of a drive on your computer, Russ.
So will this mean that anyone could go in and get other observers' data?
Yeah, Leon, why don't you show us what it looks like on your computer? Share your screen and show us what the Chile 24 computer looks like in Dropbox.
I can show you the AnyDesk view, but not the Dropbox view yet, because Matt has to accept my folder invitation.
Oh, he hasn't done that yet. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but it's just like any other file folder. But though I should note, this isn't important for Speckle, but in the long term, if you want to do anything else, I would process locally. As if you use the full frame, it is 120 megabytes per image. And I run out of memory with the 16 gigabytes on the Nuke. So if you have anything under 32, it really isn't ideal for that camera. No, actually, if you want, I can show you what my telescope looks like.
Yeah.
In Dropbox. I mean, it's just the standard Dropbox view.
So will a user, if their objects of interest, that they put on the list is observed several different times during the night, are they going to have to kind of run through the whole thing to collect their various observations here and there, or will in Dropbox will all of one user's observations be put in one area together?
Well, yes, sort of yes and no. The individual FITS files will be available through Dropbox to you if you want to go look at individual images, which is, always a good idea. And that'll be organized like the organization we've been talking about in the directory tree. At the moment, the BSP1 files will be all under the top folder. But I can change that. I can go one level down and stick them in there. But I want to get it working first. There's a lot of sausage making involved in this, and so we got to make it work first, and then I'll get a better organization.
Yeah, if the highest level of the organization is the user, that will then, when they go into the Dropbox, that'll save them having to try to hunt through to find their results if they were taking it different times during the night.
That's right. I have to make sure. So the reason I'm doing it now is I want to make sure that I see the file structure that Nick, that Nina produces, because I don't want to mess around with losing stuff or not knowing where it goes. And then I can quickly, make it more convenient for everybody.
Okay, good. Well, I'll tell you, seeing what happens in the next 24 hours is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interested what Leon and Nick pull off. That'll be very interesting.
Well, I'm tempted to. I'm in GMT -5, so the Chile telescope is 2 hours ahead of me, which means that it'll be 2 a.m. for me tonight, right? So I'm tempted to set the alarm and log into this to see what they're up to, but I might not. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, I might be able to do it a little more conveniently from Hawaii. So Leon, if you could let me know, when you're about to observe or something sort, I'll see if I can tune in.
And we just need a Zoom room then, since we were just planning to do a direct call.
I can send mine out. I should be able to do that.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I can do mine too. I may do it. I think was it going to be midnight in California?
It'll be 11
11
a.m.
California.
You're GMT -8 right now, so
Right.
Chile, you're 5 hours behind the telescope.
I could
That would be
provide
11 p.m. Okay. Certainly I'd be up for that. Yeah.
I can provide my wife's Zoom that doesn't require anyone to be on for it to work.
That's the best, Russ.
Yep.
Now, that's your usual Zoom, so everybody may already have that. Right?
Yeah, you're right, I can send out email, but it's 227-001-7281. And it doesn't require any password or permission to bring you on.
Could you put that in
That's
the chat?
7281 or 7081?
227-001-7281.
Okay.
Could you put that in the chat, Russ?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay.
One last thing from me. Do we want to compress the data once it's processed, or do we throw it away? The compression ratio is about 50%.
Well, yeah, let's generate some data first, get it over onto the hard drive, the external drive. And when it starts to fill up, we'll just start compressing it, you know. But I think really it has very little value after you've verified the bispectrum results. You may need to go back and look at some of the images to see if they make sense. You know, if you don't get any bispectrum results at all, you know, or they're uninterpretable or whatever, then you go look at some of the images and you notice that there wasn't a star there or whatever, something bad. It was very out of focus or something bad happened. After that, retaining all of those images is really not very useful and can't be done anyway in the long term. So we'll make that call when we start to fill up the external hard drive.
Right.
So a reminder, Matt sent a reminder to every night you've got to offload the nuke with whatever you want to save to the external drive. Okay.
Was that the message in WhatsApp about the?
Yeah. So, well, I'm actually augmenting his message. He just requested that you know, there was a lot of data. I don't know.
Yeah, it was over 120 gigabytes already. Well, it was never moved. That was a problem.
Right. So just a reminder to move it when you're done, to move it to the external drive.
Yep. So Sophia, we would put it in Speckle now under the hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, that's all I had. Well, I'll probably get up and see you guys at 2 on Russ's Zoom channel. And anybody else have anything else they'd like to talk about? And then I'll see you tonight or next Friday.
Yep.
Wonderful.
See you. Russ,
Yeah,
I'm
then.
quickly going to hop into your Zoom room just now in case you get a notification just to test it. Oh, yeah, you're muted.
I'll join you there just to check, make sure everything's okay.
Okay.
See y'all.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Later.